joining us from Accra is Collins Appiah, economic advisor. Thank you so much, Collins, for taking the time out to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it's interesting what Vodafone wants to do, listing on the Ghanaian stock exchange, but of course there are still some issues at the moment. I know that the Ghanaian government owns 30% of the company, but I know that there have been some issues. Vodafone has said that the government has not met its financial obligations as a minority stakeholder. But let's talk about what's going to come first. Vodafone says that it needs to restructure its loans first. So tell us, give us more insight on that. What should we expect?
I think for me, the reason why they said they needed to restructure their debt or the loans that they have in their books. Anytime you want to come and list on the stock exchange, analysts or investors have certain expectations as to how strong your books look. So if you present your prospectus and get to find out that the books are not what people expect, then obviously it shows that people are not probably not going to patronize the IPO if it happens to be so. So I believe that, yes, it's in the right direction. One, to clean your books if you have some debt that cannot be explained to investors to buy into your company. But I think overall, some of us are really happy as to the announcement of telecommunication institution or organization wanting to list on the stock market. The stock market have been in existence for over 25 years now, and if you look at the companies that are listed, you so believe that Ghanaians, when it comes to listing their companies on the market, we still have a challenge. And that's why some of us see it as a very good, move for Vodafone having come out to say that they are thinking of, coming to list on the stock market.
Well, has any timeline? Okay, sorry about it. Has any timeline been given in terms of when this restructuring will happen and will end?
In fact, I think the news that came out did not give timeline. But now you realize that MTN is currently going through the IPO process. I believe that probably the advisor, if they happen to, Vodafone happen to have one, will want to monitor the timing, because if MTN is already raising over $1 billion Ghana cedi on the stock market, I think the supply side of money on that market is not that huge. So if I'm an advisor to Vodafone, I would say, hey, why don't I put mine probably next year, either beginning of the year or later part of this year, so that it doesn't, get to the market where people don't have the necessary money to patronize, to have the suspicion that, or the minimum suspicion that they would need to have to be on the stock market. So I think timing is very key, but as I said, the announcement that came was very silent on it. They said there are still more things that they needed to do. You go through even a whole process of getting the regulator, which is the Security and Exchange Commission, to give their blessing to you before you can come and list. And I think that there's more things for them to do before such a thing could happen. But I think it's a positive thing or positive sign that we are seeing, in the Ghanaian economy.
That being said, I'm just wondering at the confidence level that the market will have. I mean, with this kind of news in terms of the debt restructuring and the fact that since Vodafone took over and made an additional investment of $1.2 billion, it still hasn't returned to profit. So I'm just wondering, coming to the market, even though the loans would have been restructured, hopefully by then, I'm just thinking, does that affect confidence level for the market?
One way or the other, you could say yes. It could have a confidence issue or credibility issue, in a sense that yes, after you've taken over. I mean, I think when Vodafone came to buy, I think at the time it was Ghana Telecom, which used to purely be a government institution. Buying a government institution that have gone through up and downs of inefficient way of managing things. I think that was one of the things that has kept them and still trying to manage maybe the rotting coat that they came to meet. In fact, it would be prudent for them to clean the books if the books are still not good before they really come to the market, because investors, as I know in Ghana, if your book doesn't look good, you come and people will not patronize. So I expect that they should do what is necessary if they have to clear. And also depending on the loan that they are talking about, depending on the interest rate that they had. And why, in terms of, and MTN has been really competing very well, with Vodafone, or probably even leading the market in terms of telecommunication services. So it hasn't been easy. I know it hasn't been easy for them, and because of the competition that we also get from either Airtel or Tigo, that telecommunication sector is very competitive, and that has also even affected their pricing. As to how they charge customers and so on and so forth. So I think that overall they should, as I said, clean the books and people have what it takes to build into the economy.
All right, Collins, thank you so much for talking to us today. We appreciate your time. Collins Appiah, Economic Advisor at Services Integrity Savings and Loans.